the question is, why don't I do the conjugate method? Basically, you can just sort of look at where I started and when I started. Because my first powerlifting meet was in 2007. It was the Michigan State meet. I did single ply in the USAPL, and I started off in a club powerlifting team and just was sort of bumbling my way through it. But then when I stopped wrestling and I got into powerlifting way more. It was probably 2011, 2012 when YouTube channels started blowing up and people started uploading their workouts and becoming more popular. The Animal Underground videos and like YouTubers like Ben Rice and Johnny Candido, those guys would upload all their videos. I followed those, and those were the guys that I saw, and I was honestly a sort of a bro lifter before then, and I figured this is the way things were done, this is how I would do it, and I basically had a squat day, a bench day, and a deadlift day, and maybe one or two other accessory movements, or like another squat or another bench, and it's worked for me. And I've read, I've looked at other methods, I've basically just learned as much as I could and got as much experience as I can, but this is what has always worked for me, and this is what I enjoy doing, and I've never ruled out the possibility of doing a conjugate style program, but it's just not what I've been doing now, and I'm still getting stronger, so if it's not broken, why try to fix it?
To segue off of that, what I get asked a lot is because Joe trains out here frequently, and there's JP trains out there. There's other people that train out here frequently that don't use the conjugate method. So I'm asked, why are they not training conjugate if that's what my bias is? And it is my bias, but everybody forgets that I competed for 10 years using a linear method. And Ted, Molly, and all those, I basically used block training to be able to get them to a certain point before I used conjugate. And so my belief system is in what works. So I can sit and look at his training, and in my mind, am I thinking, yeah, he would do way better conjugate? Kind of sometimes, but he's making progress and his numbers are where they're at. You don't fuck with success. But if progress is slowing down, like I had to stop training linear and go into conjugate because I just was not able to get better. And it was more than a meet, it was more than a weight cut, it was more than an injury, it was more than, things that I'll see happen to other lifters and be like, maybe they need to start looking at a different protocol. And it's like, no, this is just an injury, it's part of the game. Or no, it's a bad meet, it's part of the game. No, it's just a fucked up weight cut, it's part of the game. And let them, go because it's working. I mean, I think that's where people miss the boat is you got to find a program that's working for you. Then you have to adapt that program to you. And then you got to find a style of that program that works for you. And this is all a big long-term process. And when you have top lifters and you want to extract them from that and put them in a completely new environment, it's not like moving from, Ohio to Michigan. It's like moving from fucking Ohio to China. It's like on the other side of the world, and it's just, it doesn't make sense. So, but there is a lot of universal things between both, but it's more watching form and style, when he's lifting or JP or anything like that. What's the form? What's the technique? I know their technique. I know the style of their technique, which is a whole nother conversation. And when they break style, fixing that. And if I think they're beat up, telling them to back off and being more or less a sounding board. Most of the time, just being a sounding board to get them to tell me what they already know and kind of go from that direction. But that's why I don't have everybody come in here, jump straight to conjugate. If they're not at a certain place and I have the time, which is 2 to 3 years is what I would want, then I'll put them on conjugate. If they're beyond that, it's just getting the best out of you possibly can. Not everybody has to train conjugate. Not everybody has to train block. Not everybody has to train linear. They gotta train their own method when it's all said and done.
And I mean, like, just like talking about you being a sounding board, like I don't train conjugate, like Brandon Sen's my coach, but I was in here training last weekend, and what'd you tell me? Like, just rack it, like, be done, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I listened to you, so that's I honestly think like that's bigger than any program, like whether it's environment or just having people that you can bounce ideas off of and sometimes pull you back or let you go a little bit.
Yeah, and from watching his training, I basically know he's using some type of block periodization system. So, and I know what block it should fall. I can kind of guess what he's doing without him even knowing what he's doing and where it's falling in there. And right now, it's just common sense, you know. So it was, he was tired. You know, he worked all day at a meet, then trained afterwards, and his bench looked like horse shit. It's just 26 weeks out from a meet, there's just no point. But I'm not going to be able to get him to just like stop. I mean, he'd have to really, really be hurt, knowing him, to say, look, just stop. But take it down 100 pounds, no big deal. Still get the work in and go from there. I'm sure he'll agree, the smartest thing to probably do was just to not bench at all. But you got to understand, people's mentality is different. I get that mentality. So you got to find the compromise. It's okay, do this and don't get fucked up.